We'll be starting off on Oasis. I don't know if this is necessarily the main map that we're seeing because I know one of the streams one of the games they did start off on Lijiang, but looks like no big swaps coming in here for Peru. Ecuador though, this is the big thing for me and you. We have not seen Ecuador. We haven't seen their tryouts. We haven't seen them in any show matches. At least I haven't. I don't know if you had. We know who Rainy Day is, and I think we do know who Shea is. But outside that, these are all new players. I think this is gonna be we're gonna get a really quick introduction here, very, very fast, as Key coming out on the Mauga after playing, I think, an excellent Jungle Queen last series against Chile on this same map.
Yeah, that's fascinating ultimately. So we'll see what kind of comes to form with that right here. The diva that we honestly, I don't know if we've seen a whole, we've seen a little bit of diva as Kirby will manage to make it back over onto the platform. But we'll see what we expect. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Yeah, all right, cool. But hey, we're still mid-fight right here. The manga is definitely really interesting, and maybe it's a little bit of a reaction to what we already saw within that first game for them, where they kind of just aren't able to squeak it out right here. And so far, things looking good for them, because while it is almost capped over there by Guatemala, it really should be the cleanup squad coming through here to take this point over.
It should, and Persona, I think, gonna pick up right where they left off. Again, I think this DPS line of Persona and Martian had an incredible series against Chile. Maybe one that if we had the stats for, you would be saying, wow, it's a shame they ended up losing that series, but Chile was able just to come out on top in the end. Key, though, barely staying alive here as all the healing in the world being pumped in to the Samoan wall of meat.
Yes, 100%. And now, at this point, Kirby probably should have just taken the reset already, and I think just decides, that's the right choice. And it is the right choice, by the way. Just take the reset, move on. And scary thing, by the way, Martian already has a pulse bomb.
Martian's building up pulse bombs normally like how we see Freya's build up bola shots. It's almost uncanny, really. Like, that's how good they're doing, even without getting their name in the kill feed a lot. They're just providing so much pressure, finding so much damage, leaving it there as the pulse bomb's out. Not going to find the stick this time, but now they're focusing back in on Kelly.
Yeah, Martian close to going down. The cleanse just barely misses out, and now this is a big trance going through from Ecuador to pull this one around. We'll see what the scenario is, as everything is nice and fixed, beautiful. But now, Key, just trying to kind of struggle to stay alive right here, is getting so pressured right here as, they get off for like a moment, but they will eventually be able to find the cap. 56% right here. Need to try to keep Key alive, who is getting a little bit separated. Kirby does drop down to get the Mega Health Pack, I believe, as they're going to force their way back on. Copy for Rainy Day. Doesn't look like it's going to get a whole lot right here. It does cause separation, causes somebody to get low, but unfortunately, with Kirby knocked out of the mech right here, I think coming back from this is nigh impossible.
It's not necessarily impossible here, but I think you need to get back, and now you just
no, oh no,
never mind. It's impossible. It is very much impossible. They are Hunter. You know that one Malga gif? Yeah, that was that right there, but with 3 people.
Oh, that's beautiful. But there's one fight left, and the bright side is, because that fight goes, they still have a lot of ultimates.
They still have a lot of ultimates, but I think right now, if you're Peru, you want to play aggressive here. I think we talked about the last series a lot. They loved playing aggressively. And look, already just going straight in, you're going to have to use something here early on. It's going to have to probably be Emiliox to get started, but the beat coming out a little bit too late to save Kelly.
Oh, yeah, unfortunately so. And now you're in a weird situation moving forward right now, as that's all fixed up right there. Key's able to get rid of one Martian as well, and the pin to Peru coming alive right here as Kirby is going to have a bomb available. Throws down the pulse bomb, doesn't get rid of them, and unfortunately, Kirby not able to get back in. That first round will be decided. But even though it is 100-11, that is still a really scrappy performance from Ecuador. I think that's worth saying.
Very, very scrappy from them. But again, I think this is going to be something that we see pretty often here tonight against, or throughout this entire weekend, with teams that are going up against Peru and Chile. This aggressive playstyle that they really like to play is really going to, I think, cause a lot of disruptions, cause a lot of problems with teams. If you're not ready for it or not necessarily good to withstand it, you're not going to really be able to do anything against it. And Malga might be one of the most aggressive inting tanks in the game outside of a charging Reinhardt and a Doomfist. But I mean, I think Key is playing this one here. And you saw the only person that died for Peru that entire first map was Martian, which I mean, again, you kind of expect that from a Tracer, but no one else died. I mean, everyone on that Peru team did such a good job staying alive, and we talked about there multiple times as Key almost got their first death right there by playing, again, too close to the ledge.
Yeah, one of those things that I still don't think gets moved very far forward, all things considered. But still, you never want to place a character that can just simply fall down, that puts you in such a position. And now, oh, I had no idea. And Persona just gets bursted down as a result. Big for Rainy Day to clean that up, but still, he's kind of just hanging around right now, is waiting to find a second victim potentially right here. He's kind of in a really weird position in the backline right now where no one's really turning for it either. They're taking a really aggressive fight up top right here, and eventually this is going to pay off with another pick, and Ecuador gonna win this fight, only losing Xia in that instance as actually Kelly goes down too. Wow.
But you're going to see Persona get traded out again. I mean, Persona comes back into the fight and quickly exits the fight. Fake's going to fall as well, and I think this is what I want to see from Ecuador. I want to see what happens when they're actually going to be able to set up with the point in their control, because the first point they were never able to set up after they got control of the point. Everyone for Peru kind of just hung around, waited for their opportunity to strike. Now it's going to be Peru coming right back in, and look, Key saying can't play the Malga anymore. This is not a map that really works good for the Malga because of how wide open it is. Allows more of this Ecuadorian team to kind of play free, but Seiya going to be taken out first.
Yeah, and now this is going to be rough because you can't really hold on to this. You just kind of have to sustain as long as you possibly can, but you're not even going to do that. You're just going to get out with everybody alive who can still be alive right here, but Rainy Day and Kelly are still in rough situations, but they will eventually get out as I have questions.
You want to know what happened? I bet you they probably teleported to Kirby as he was over the gap.
That is kind of funny. I cannot lie.
Unfortunate, but fun, yes. But you still look at Ecuador coming back in this next fight. You're gonna have Duplicate, you're gonna have Bolt, you're gonna have Bomb, and you're gonna have Overclock here. But Rainy Day has to use Duplicate just to keep himself alive here. A Pulse Bomb pick could be huge from them.
Yeah, you're trying to build this up right now. Bird already knows, and it's oh my god! Okay, Rainy Day.
We see another one.
Could still get another one. Not going to. But still, it's really big right there. You get rid of a second, and while Rainy Day should die as a result, somehow doesn't die, by the way. They flipped the point kind of early as well.
Rainy Day is a name that I've heard of before, and I think me and you have both casted this player. I think I know how good they are, and they are making this Echo look amazing here. I think it's really causing problems now, too. Kirby going to have to use that bomb there just to keep themselves alive. Not going to be able to find anyone, but again, in that situation, you're just looking to get back into the mech.
Yeah, and now Gia over to having that Kitsune Rush right around the corner. Now that things have taken an extra minute, we are going to have the double Kitsune Rush. The double beat potential on the line as well as Emilio and Ishtar just so close to getting it online to be massive. But Kelly goes down early. Key big open to get this going. And again, you're seeing the instance where this fight's over with and Kirby is just going to kind of stall out over on the point. Gets knocked off momentarily and now can get staggered out, but won't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised they weren't staggered out there a little bit longer, considering that Peru already took the point back. But still, I think if you're Ecuador, you're happy with that. I mean, you have 3 ultimates in your back pocket. Granted, Peru's going to have 4. Here, they have the remaking tool, but they have both DPS ultimates. I think that's going to be something that Peru really relies on this upcoming fight, because if Martian can find 1 with the Pulse Bomb, Persona can easily find 2. Hell, we've seen Persona find 2 on this same exact point without needing the overclock.
Oh, 110%. So we'll see how things kind of roll on from here right now as about to have 70 over the board. Beat going to be used. Ishtar going to use theirs a little later in the game right here. And now it could be down to Kelly to pull this fight back around. But it's Persona once more trying to move in, making a little bit of space. It is definitely doing so. And now you're trying to reset as fast as you possibly can. Yep.
What a swap. What a swap to that one. Just straight into being hit by a car, sound effect and all. Oh my goodness, I want to know who's observing this, because that was just great timing. But here's the thing, if you're Ecuador, you're coming into this, someone has to touch, and you get the touch right there. But you need Rainy Day to be able to just do it fast. They have it ready to go. Pulse them out from Martian, not going to be able to find them. So you have an opportunity now, because there's a chance if you win this fight early on, Key won't use the bomb.
Yeah, and now you have to be careful, because now, unfortunately, you've lost too many bodies. Maybe you find some kind of flip, but probably you're just going to have to let this loose for a moment here and try to make some space. Try to find some kind of blow right here. He's going to try to get the mech, but doesn't even get the mech online. Bomb's going to come out here. Isn't able to get it online. This is rough. Rainy Day pulls it back with 1, but it's not going to be enough as they're boot away from the point. And that's a competitive one there for Ecuador, but Peru takes that one away. And again, kind of picking off where they left off, because remember how good they looked back on that initial Oasis they played against Chile.
I mean, yeah, and you have to remember this point here was the point they ended up winning the entire map on, and they just picked up basically right where they left off. They played the Malga the first map, and then swapped over to the D.Va this time around. They just played Jungle Queen exclusively last time around against Chile, and it caused a lot of problems. Remember, it forced Chile to get off the Winston, which has been working so good for Frack, going over to their own D.Va, I believe it was that. No, Zarya, that was slowly able to get going. But still, you just had a huge plays come out from Peru against Chile to win that map. This time around, you didn't need those huge plays. It seemed like they were a little bit more relaxed going into that one. But I think Ecuador, they really made it interesting there at points. You saw really good performances for some of them, especially on that second map. Rainy Day really started to find a lot of value. I think the biggest problem was you were always losing one or two people very early on in fights, and unfortunately, it always seemed to be either the Soj or the Kiri, which you don't really want to lose either one of those two first. Hell, you don't want to lose anyone first, but normally, again, I always kind of lean towards you want to lose your flex DPS or your flex support first, because I feel like you can still win a fight without either one of those.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's always a bit of a rough one where you're in a scenario like that. But again, I think Ecuador got a little better as the map kept continuing forward. Rainy Day, I think, looked phenomenal, especially when you kind of see... Yeah, big standout, which, if I'm not mistaken, we know Rainy Day by a different name, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm pretty sure...
I only know them as Rainy Day.
I think I do too, but... so I did a little research
earlier. Is that Wilma? Is that Wilma?
That is Wilma Fist, yes. Which we know for certain reasons, but the reason I'll say we know them is because they're playing in they're playing in Face It this season right here on that Heist squad, who ended up winning the qualifier to get in there in the first place. I know it's open to master anyway, but they won it regardless. Only I think ended up dropping one map throughout that whole instance. So obviously really fascinating to see in this instance right here. But obviously going forward, in this right there, and how good you kind of played if you were Ecuador, it doesn't go your way. But again, they're another one of those teams that are kind of like in that same, scope as like Honduras or Guatemala, where people don't, people have them low on the list. Let's be very clear about that. But they're still strong in their own rights. And I think that right there, despite it being a 2-0, that is a good showing.
Yeah, and here's the thing. People are doing those power rankings. I always feel like it's a little bit disrespectful to do them. Just because sometimes people just don't know the teams, don't know the players. But one thing that me and you really learned from watching a lot of Face It, both North America and South America, especially as we're starting to see a lot of these Central American players come into South America and North America, just how chaotic they can make games. That's been one thing that's been pretty normal for us to experience, and at least in South America, in Face It. And I really do think it's going to start showing its head up here. I could expect to see Ecuador make this a little, maybe a lot interesting going into whatever our second map is. But right now, Peru, especially with Redder being that coach, probably just trying to get everyone to lock back in here. Yeah, they won that first map. They won it pretty good. But remember, I think we were talking very highly of Peru after they beat Chile in map 1. And then they proceeded to drop 2 maps in a row. Granted, the second one, really close. Third one, not so. But they're just, I think right now, if you're Redder, you're trying to make sure that you don't fall into the same mistakes you kind of fell into with Chile. Again, Chile, I think, is a much different team from Ecuador, but you don't want to start seeing those same little mistakes here. And I imagine if Redder goes back and watches this, he might be a little bit wow, holy crap, I cannot speak. A little bit angry at what I'm saying. But again, you don't want to have those habits coming up early on in this tournament, because you still have a lot more games to go. You have 6 more games to go over the next 2 days for Peru.
Yeah, no, 100%. So obviously we'll see how things go from here. Something I do want to bring up, as we do have a lot of people in here, and we had a little question asked, and I think it's worth bringing up because we explained it a bit near the beginning, but it's worth doing while we still have a moment for this next map to begin, and that's the format of how this all goes down. Because, lo and behold, wasn't, I don't think, publicly explained in the best of manners, but we know how it works, Dex. Yes, or at all, but we're going to explain it to the best of our ability right here. So what you're watching right now is essentially the opening qualifiers for the Americas. There are already 5 teams that are currently already in the American Conference right now. That being what? It's USA, Canada, Mexico, Colombia, and Brazil, based on their performance from the last World Cup. But you have 9 other teams that are basically doing their own wild card here to claim the last 3 spots in the American Conference. So what we have right here is that qualifier. So what's happening today and subsequently the rest of the weekend for both America and Asia as well is we are playing a round robin. Everybody is going to face everybody. And at the end of the day, the top 3 teams in terms of standings will move on to play with those other 5 teams in the American conference a little later down in the year. It'll probably happen a little closer to the summertime. But that's why it's so integral in the situation that you get some of these wins early and puts you in a good situation. Because whether you're 9th, whether you're 4th, if you're not in that top 3, that is your year done and dusted.
Ooh, yeah. And again, we'll talk about it a little bit more, but Hunter, seeing Suravasa for the first, this has to be orange.
It has to
this
be.
has to be orange. This has to be. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly explain this. We're taking a guess that the observer for this clean feed is one of our good friends, Orange, who always finds the alpacas, who always are the llamas and the pigeons, especially the pigeons. We are assuming it is them. If it is not, then man, the observers all love animals. But Martian being taken out early by Rainy Day. Again, Rainy Day has been a standout so far, in my opinion, for this Ecuadorian team. Finding that first pick, I think, just gets rid of so much pressure. Now they're going after Fix, who already uses the Suzu on themselves.
Yeah, 100% right here, and I love Kirby going over towards this Winston instead, and unlikely to see a retouch of any kind, as yeah, that one going to be clean up and dusted away, but still have yet to really lose anybody quite yet. He is getting pushed back. He's gonna have to use the shout, and the cleanse comes out as well, as Kirby has been extremely aggressive so far on this Winston, and sometimes it pays off, sometimes it does not.
I like Rainy Day playing this off angle, but ooh, not able to land any of the stickies there. Needs to get out. Marshall gonna be able to punish them, but Kelly gonna be able to find Persona. A huge trade back almost immediately.
Yeah, 100%, 40% over on the board right now. Still having the tank alive is massive for both squads, but you're getting surrounded from both ends right here. And with Kelly now being gone, this really is kind of more of a stall game that's coming through here right now, as the point was potentially going to flip momentarily. Last second touch is coming through for some of these members, but it will flip at 62%, and now you're just hoping to get everybody out alive.
And it seems like, I mean, especially with the Suzu being invested there, just get Rainy Day and Zaya out. I hope that's how you say that. I don't want to be saying my cat's name over and over again. But, I mean, you put yourself in a good spot here if you're Ecuador. You have some ultimates coming up. That Consumer Rush could be very big here, but you look over, Fix already has Consumer Rush. Marsh not that far away from a duplicate. They could use those pretty early on here and put it into a scary situation for Ecuador if they lose the fight that they're already kind of having to give it up. But Rainy Day finds Martian.
Yeah, massive to get at this stage of the game right here. And now you need to find some kind of follow-up on top of that right here. Overclock is available, but you see how much Kelly is just kind of being pushed out of the fight, but it might not be enough right there, as Point is going to get cacked over at 67%. Eventually the cleanup coming through, and because of all these late picks, they are going to have to rush their way to this point to touch.
They're going to have to rush their way, but they have Lucio to get there fast, and you also look at what Peru has. Everything basically coming in this fight outside of Kitsune Rush. Ecuador, they used 2 ultimates in that one. Martian, though, I think just kind of hiding for their life. Rainy Day, though, Emelox and Kirby are going to have to do a lot in this fight with their 3 ultimates, but someone has to touch. Emelox, though, will fall, and just barely a touch in time.
Wow, yeah, just barely. That should be enough to take this one, you would think. But now we're back at the forward fair already. Kirby is still going to have a little bit more to work with that primary juggle, and Rainy Day is able to get the unleash, just get it onto 3 of the members right there. Martian is struggling to hold on to this form, eventually knocked out as we have a flip coming through as they are just getting cleared out.
Here's the thing, though. I think you could still see Ecuador come back in here really quickly if they want to. Rainy Day is going to be the only late arriver, but you look at what Ecuador has here. Beat, Primal Rage, but you still have Rampage and Overclock on the other side, and Ecuador, I think at this point, they're just giving it up. A jump in, but no, a nice boop out.
Wow, and that is massive, and now you just kind of have to eat the death there. Save the Primal Rage for the next fight. As we head over to the next one to Gameplay, rolling some big ultimates online, but to be fair, the ultimates that exist right now for Peru, they get pretty outplayed by the ultimates sitting by for Ecuador.
Yeah, and this is a very interesting point, especially with, you know, having that ledge that leads just into the death lake, essentially. You have to be very wary of where both Emelox and Ishtar are for the 2 Lucios. You don't want to be booped off here, because, again, we've talked about the ledges here. As you see the Primal Rage come out from Kirby early on, just trying to knock people away, you really want to find a pick off this just to give your team some advantage. But, again, Rainy Day, they have just been impressing.
so impressive and maybe goes a little too aggressive right there, but Kelly gets a nice pick over onto Martian to clear out the fight as Kirby, again, so aggressive over on this Winston, and sometimes it's caught up, but right now it is forcing Peru to have to run so far back.
Yeah, and again, this is a good start here for Ecuador, but they now need to keep it up. Granted, you got both the Overclock and the Rampage out there from Peru, so you're in a good spot with Rainy Day and Kelly Dude coming up to their ultimates, and Rainy Day somehow is always finding themselves behind the entire enemy team, but you lose Kirby. However, Rainy Day duplicates into a tank, so they're going to have to really keep their team going.
Yeah, 100% we'll see who goes right here as copy's broken very quickly. Martian has theirs online as well, but it will not matter ultimately as the cleanup's going to come through pretty much around the same time it happened last time right here. The difference is that a lot gets used right there, and now with having to beat in the copy, you should feel pretty decent about your position right now, you know, for Peru.
Yeah, I mean, Peru, like you have, like beat copy online. Kelly Dude does have their Overclock and Zaya coming up to, I'm just gonna say my cat's name at this point, is coming up to that Kitsune Rush, but you already see Kirby going in and just having to fall straight back out. Now Key's gonna try to pressure him out a little bit, but I would not be surprised if you see Peru here invest something early.
Yeah, and to be fair, it feels like you don't have to anymore. You could for the funsies, but I wouldn't quite recommend it as they're going to clean up a couple of bodies. Now you're going into last fight territory. Persona's getting a couple of blows to finish out this one, as well as you try to get Ready Day out of there. You 100% do. And now you haven't used any ults, and you've built up to even more.
Yeah, I think this is just how Peru wants to take these fights. They find one pick early on and allows them just to kind of build up this ult economy and really makes it hard for Ecuador to do anything here because now Ecuador is going to pretty much have to invest something here. And yeah, it's going to be the overclock. You need to find a pick, but the beat basically going to cancel everything out.
Yeah, and Kelly is getting cared for momentarily. Eventually should be taken care of. Hasn't. By the way, overtime doesn't even activate. They don't get the touch in time. With Kirby down, they're not going to win the fight anyway. So now it's just trying to clear things out and honestly, possibly just die as fast as possible.
Yeah, Hunter, I think I figured out something here. Rainy Day's Frothy Philly.
Oh, okay. That would potentially make sense. I can't.
Or I'm gonna assume it is. I might be wrong about that. I know there's someone we're both talking back and forth with the person in chat who I think knows who Rainy Day actually is. But I mean, Rainy Day's been putting on a good performance. If it is Frothy Philly, then it's not that much of a surprise. No. But you see now Ecuador series hopes are on the line here, and you're walking into 3 ultimates. Granted, you have 3 of your own, but it doesn't look like you get off to the strong start you got off to on the first 2 points this time around.
No, 100% not. And now you're kind of rallying for a little bit more space right here. Primal Rage is activated. They're trying to chuck on forward right here, but just getting massively damaged. And now you've doubled down right here. The point opens back up. It's eventually going to be claimed here from Peru, at least momentarily. With Rainy Day down, I think that permanent is going to turn, or that temporary is going to turn a lot more permanent as Persona gets rid of 3. Hoping for the 4th right here. And Persona has been going buck wild this whole day so far.
I mean, Persona has just been... I mean, this DPS line for Peru, I know I talked a lot about Chile's DPS line, but this DPS line for Peru has been a lot more consistent throughout their 2 series. Yes, again, they've lost their first series, but I think Persona and Martian were easily able to maybe have better performances than what we saw from Chile's there. And Rainy Day going right after Fix, but the TP again keeps them alive, and now Rainy Day has to use the duplicate just to keep themselves up.
Yeah,
Martian?
I have questions about Martian. But the bright side right here, you get this Kitsune Rush on, you should get a Kitsune Rush online. It'll be thrown across the way, beat used almost immediately, and now, remember, this is Final Fight territory. You lose this one, it's done. It's dusted. Nothing is helping you pull back from this one. With Kelly and Zia down, I don't think you come back from this situation right here. Maybe you force some overtimes, but you're losing body after body in Peru. After a bit of a heartbreaking loss to Chile, they are going to bounce back and get their win on the day.
And I think they okay, camera work there. They get a really good win here. They get a really good win. I think Ecuador did give them some challenges, and I think that was one thing that we were going to be kind of the biggest question for us. Again, we have not seen this Ecuadorian team. They didn't. Fix went 8-0. Fix never died. 22 assists is insane, and almost 11,000 healing. But this Ecuadorian team, again, coming into it, hadn't seen tryouts, hadn't seen a show match from them. I believe they did have one show match before this. But I still think they actually had a really good showing, even though they end up losing this one here. This is their, I want to say it's their own. No, they have another game, which I believe we're also going to be covering that one as they play Guatemala next. And again, a Guatemalan team that me and you haven't seen. That was a team that announced their roster, I think literally only a couple days ago, one that we didn't even know was going to be a part of Conference Cups until a couple days ago as well. But I think Ecuador, you really did, I think, give Peru some problems. But I think Peru is able to kind of learn from some of the mistakes they had against Chile, get that bounce back win here, and put themselves in a really good spot heading in day 2, where they have one. They have 3 games. They have 3 games tomorrow.